Picture sitting in a classroom, staring at a quiz designed to figure out your learning style. Are you a visual learner? Auditory? Kinesthetic? You might remember the relief of finally getting a label, a reason why you were struggling to grasp certain concepts. You are definitely not alone. Surveys show that globally, between 80 and 95% of educators believe that students learn better when taught according to these specific categories. It intuitively makes sense. But decades of cognitive research show a different reality. The concept of learning styles is a neuromyth. It completely lacks empirical scientific support. Because we've treated this idea as a biological fact, schools and teacher training programs routinely spend significant financial resources and instructional time on diagnostic tools, like VARC assessments, and building fragmented, multi-version lesson plans. Worse, diagnosing a student with a specific style actively restricts them. A student told they are a visual learner often avoids critical reading or listening tasks, convinced their brain simply isn't wired for them. Sorting students by how they supposedly consume information is an active threat to their development. It drains school budgets and artificially limits a student's potential to master difficult subjects. To see how this idea became so ingrained, we have to look back to the educational psychology of the mid-20th century. Researchers like Howard Gardner introduced the theory of multiple intelligences in 1983, and David Kolb published his experiential learning theory shortly after. Their work was intended to highlight the immense, diverse computational capacities of the human brain. Gardner was exploring intelligence itself, not prescribing a strict menu of how a teacher must present a lesson. Textbook publishers and educational consultants realized that categorizing students into rigid styles, like visual or kinesthetic, was a highly marketable idea. The science was oversimplified and packaged into a profitable industry standard. A legitimate observation about human diversity was deliberately flattened into a lucrative commercial product, permanently altering global education based on a lie. The entire learning styles industry relies on what psychologists call the meshing hypothesis. This is the claim that matching instructional formats to a student's specific VARC category directly improves their test scores and memory retention. In a comprehensive 2008 review, cognitive psychologist Harold Pashler and his team looked for data to back this up. They found zero credible evidence that meshing instruction to learning styles provides any educational advantage. The American Psychological Association formally echoed this complete lack of scientific support in 2019. Cognitive science agrees humans absolutely have learning preferences. You might naturally reach for a video tutorial instead of a textbook, but the format you enjoy does not dictate how effectively your brain actually consolidates and stores data. Just because a student feels more comfortable engaging with a specific media format doesn't mean they will perform better on an assessment. Comfort is a preference. Retention is a biological process. If learning styles are a complete illusion, what evidence-based strategies actually work in the classroom? This chart shows the dramatic difference in memory retention curves. Cramming yields a steep drop-off, but distributing study sessions over time, a technique called spaced repetition, stabilizes the curve, leveraging your brain's natural process of memory consolidation. You pair that timing with retrieval practice. Instead of passively rereading notes, actively forcing your brain to recall information through self-testing strengthens the memory connections far more effectively. Then there is dual coding. When you combine words with visuals, like a flowchart paired with a verbal explanation, you build two distinct neural pathways to the same memory. This dual pathway system provides a cognitive advantage for every learner. In the classroom, this looks like universal design for learning. Educators provide information in multiple formats: text, audio, hands-on tasks, allowing all students to engage with the material and utilize their preferences, without forcing anyone into a rigid diagnostic box. These strategies succeed precisely because they ignore arbitrary categories. They rely strictly on the biological reality of how every single human brain encodes information. Moving past the illusion of learning styles requires a shift toward a growth mindset. This is the belief that cognitive abilities are developed through effort and practice, not fixed at birth. Archaic labels like VARC actively undermine this mindset. When we tell a student they are strictly an auditory learner, we hand them a pseudoscientific excuse to give up when faced with a difficult reading assignment. Instead of asking, "What kind of learner is this child?" we need to ask, "What is the most effective way to teach this specific material?" Some subjects demand a diagram, others require a discussion. By abandoning the comforting illusion of learning styles, we tear down the artificial ceilings we've placed on students. We stop sorting them, and we finally equip them to learn anything.